and then we'll do that, and then we'll pretty much get right into it. So, hello, welcome to the Untitled Car Show. I am Ike. I am joined by Toni. She's got
Hello.
bylines over at Jalopnik and The Drive, and she is known as the person with a large Honda collection on Twitter, and her home is Trust in the Machine. And I don't think I screwed any of that up. So,
No, all good.
um, one of the things I want to go like straight into because you are, I would say, a centerpiece of like weird car Twitter, because which is a wonderful, wonderful little space on the internet that exists inside a terrible website known as Twitter, and it's so fascinating to me. And I think the best way to kind of move into that topic is I want to start with, I call them the Inside the Actor Studios questions, which they have a fancier name on that show, but we'll get into this. And these are questions. I know my brain. It's early. Like I'm moving around recording times, and I'm still adjusting to being a morning person, which is weird. The I have caffeine, and this is my first non cup of coffee, but this is also caffeine, so this is great. But I think I'm number 4, so I'm a little bit more hyper than normal. So I apologize for everyone at home or everyone listening. You're probably
this
in the
is cup
car.
this is cup number 3 for me of coffee now. So,
Mm,
and I'm usually getting out of bed now. So it's
mm,
definitely we'll struggle our way through it. If nobody wants to listen, they can just turn it off right now.
yeah, that's
They
listen.
don't though, because it'll be
Yeah,
really funny. I
yeah,
promise.
this is true. If nothing else, yes. So I want to start with, these are questions, and I have to preface it them with, as car people, we exist, and our modes and opinions change like minute by minute. So this is just as you sit right now. So this is one that starts off, and everyone hates this question, but it's the one I have to ask, which is, what is your favorite car?
Very easy answer actually.
Mm,
The Lancia Delta S4. I've come back to like the way that I always think of this question in
hmm.
terms of is like if I won the lottery tomorrow and I had
Yes.
an infinite sum of money and I was like I'm going to buy a car, what, and you have to be like what's the first thing I'm going to run out to buy?
Hmm.
Like that to me is like what my favorite is, regardless of whether it's like technically the best or and a Delta S4, preferably like an actual works one, but I would take a homologation street version as well.
Is that the little? That's not the little hatchback one.
No, that's the hatchback with the rear engine.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like the clamshell hatch.
Mm.
It was used as a Group B car. It actually was the car that ended Group B.
Oh,
There was a fatality in it. It was I think it was I forget his name at the moment. I'm writing a story about it. I'm just terrible with names. Um, but
yeah.
uh, but yeah, it was. But it also is just like absurd. It sounds cool. It looks insane. It's completely unreasonable.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is your least favorite car?
This one is harder.
Mm.
Um, I think if you have to go with like least favorite car overall, it's probably, and this is a bad answer. So
I
you're
like
gonna get
those.
hate mail for this. So send it to his inbox because I
That's
already
right.
have
Mm,
plenty of that,
mm.
please.
Untitled Car
Um,
Show. Yep.
it's funny actually, the 95 Dodge Ram
Really? That's an interesting one.
because it shifted the whole perspective of how trucks were made into what I dislike about trucks now. It took the pickup truck from like the C10, the old Dodge Ram with like the Cummins, inline
Yeah.
sixes or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
to this was this transitionary period to where they became plusher,
Mm-hmm.
nicer, bigger, and meaner. Specifically, it was a styling thing where they became a lot more aggressive, and that car was kind of the opening salvo of that. And so like I actually love the 95 Dodge Ram.
Right.
But if I was going to pick my least favorite for a valid reason, because like I could say like, oh, I hate the PT Cruiser, but that's just punching down. I'm
Right.
trying to
Mm-hmm.
think of like a smarter reason here.
Well,
And actually I
that's
like PT Cruisers.
yeah. Well, the PT Cruiser. I was talking with someone. This brief aside. I was talking with someone a couple days ago about the PT Cruiser, and kind of about the weird path they've had in life. From like you couldn't buy one the first year without a markup, to by the end of their life they were a joke. And then there was this period where it was like no one was driving a PT Cruiser on purpose. Like it was like, oh, little
Yeah.
Johnny's out of rehab and he needs a car, and Grandma just
Yep.
passed away. And now
Yep.
it's kind of like everyone's like, are they that bad though? I mean, the transmission in those things is horrid if you get the automatic, but
Yeah, I mean that was an FCA issue, I think. Well,
right, yeah.
at the time it was Daimler Chrysler, right?
Yes, it was Daimler, and then it was. Well, actually, the PT Cruiser didn't that start before it was even Daimler? Like, because it
It
started
might
in.
have. I don't know. They've changed their name like probably. I mean, they've changed their name more times than I have. So like, that's just too many for me to keep up with.
Yeah, no, it's like, come on, just pick a name like Chrysler.
Yeah.
The I'm still wait. I that's it's gonna. I feel like Chrysler as the like core of that company is eventually going to pass away, but I don't know when that's going to happen. So let's go with the next one here. What mod turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally? Like, what is it you see that car and you're like, like that? That's what I need in my
In
life.
in just in general or like
Hmm.
my for myself.
For you.
I really like anything weird. I which is a cop out obviously, but like
Uh,
there are things that, like I remember seeing somebody built one of my favorite cars I've seen. I'm desperately trying to see if during my road trip I'm going to take, which we can get to later if you want.
mm-hmm.
Um, I can go shoot this car. But somewhere in Pennsylvania, there's a dude who has a Dodge Stratus prepped for time attack. And like a time attack car is not exactly like a novel concept, but a Dodge Stratus time attack car is. At
Yeah.
least, I mean, they had race versions and stuff, but
Right.
like they had a touring car thing. But I'd never see that at like a show or something. It would be absolutely jaw dropping. The other thing I really like too is I love interior modifications, just like
Mm,
VIP cars. Part of what I'm doing with my Accord is like I'm trying to be like a little VIP influenced with some of
okay.
my styling on the inside because I just think that like I've driven cars that felt like garbage inside, and I've driven
Mhm.
ones that I put a lot of work into the interior with, and it's just like that interior stuff just makes it so much nicer.
This is very true. There's as much as I like a stripped out interior for my daily driver, no, definitely not going to be the case.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
What okay, so then this might be a much harder question for you then. It's the opposite. What modifications you see on a vehicle and you're like, no, like just I
I'm oh wow. I'm sorry because your inbox is gonna be full after this, but I really hate Rocket Bunny.
really
I do not like most bolt-on kits, wide body
hmm
kits. I think that they can be executed correctly, like Liberty Walk did in R34 that looked like the R30 silhouette, the Group 5 FIA silhouette racer from the
okay.
80s.
Hmm.
And they did it on the R34, and it was super cool. But it actually worked like with the lines of the car, and it was very retro inspired. And also, it was flush. Like I've seen RWB kits that
Hmm.
have like the flush fit look,
Right.
and they look incredible. It's just that like that bolted on wide body, just I see it a lot around here on like FRSs
Yeah.
or like stuff like that. It very rarely works for me.
Mm, yeah. I'm
Personal taste,
I'm
you
not
know.
disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's like the wide body thing for a brief moment, like the bolt on kits, I was like, and then it's too much. I agree.
And the thing too is like the really good kits are like
Oh
eight
yeah.
or nine grand. So you see the
Hmm.
same couple over and over
Right.
again, and they it becomes like you want to be a hype god, you gotta get one of these kits. And not everybody's like that, of course, but like
Right.
it's just the first assumption I make when I see them. It's not my favorite.
Right. I also enjoyed. I dislike them for a very particular reason, which is I own a Fiero, and people make fun of Fieros for being the car no one modifies, and then all these same people have like the Rocket Bunny kit on their car. And I'm like, you understand what you're doing, right? It's no different.
Exactly,
Hmm.
exactly, yeah.
So, what automotive noise or sound do you love?
Oh God, all of them. I'm one of my dreams in life is to go to a 24-hour race and fall asleep to the sound of race cars
Mm,
because it just is the most calming, like it legitimately relaxes me. But I think the best noise I've personally experienced was I used to have a 1988 Toyota Supra Turbo,
hmm.
and I had a straight pipe on it with a 3-inch glass pack, and it just the turbo sound on that as it spooled, and I had a Saab blow off valve on it. It was a weird hacky thing to get a little bit more pressure out of it, but it
Yeah.
just sounded so good. I loved it.
Mm. Well, then this next one's gonna be hard for you because I'm sure you can't guess. But it's what automotive sound or noise do you hate?
Oh no, that's actually easy. It's anybody trying to impress someone with their two-step. I hate that. Just use your two-step like a two-step and stop making it so noisy at the car show. Like, come on, please, I'm begging.
Yeah, no, backfire is fun once, and then you're scaring all the neighbors, and it's
Exactly.
yeah.
You know,
So, what car do you dread being stuck behind at a red light?
uh, in terms of sound or just like
No,
I'm
just in
gonna get
terms of
walked.
no. You are pulling up to a red light, and there are three cars. It's a 3-lane highway, and you see this car, and you're like, I'm never going to get behind this kind of vehicle.
Oh, that a lifted truck
Okay.
with a big one of those like 7-inch canisters because it's just gonna dump smoke all over me. I've actually had that before. I've had coal rolled on me while I'm in my Accord. I don't get it.
I don't get it
I don't
either.
know if
Yeah.
it's because like the car is low, or if it's because it's Japanese, or if it's because I look really gay, or like any confluence of those factors. But like, it's just I avoid those people a lot just because I'm assuming they're not gonna like me.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, I used to live in a very rednecky area, and anytime I was driving the foreign car, I always got coal rolled, and which was hilarious because my cars tended to be faster than them, so they attempted it. But whenever I drove a domestic car, even if it was slow, I never had that issue, which never made
Yep,
much sense to me. So I'm like, what?
it's some weird honor code thing. I
Yeah,
don't
I
get
don't get
it,
it. Yeah.
but
That if we got it, we'd have to understand them, and I don't think that's possible. So, so what? So in the automotive profession, we'll get into this, what you're doing in there. But other than what you're doing now, what would you like to attempt? Like anything in the automotive space?
the first thing I ever wanted to be, like when I understood the concept of jobs as a
Mm-hmm.
child, was, and I chased this for quite a while, was a car designer.
Mm,
I
yeah.
love, I mean, I appreciate car design. I know
Yeah.
now that it's incredibly difficult. I
Mm-hmm.
probably could never do it. I don't have an industrial design background or anything like that, but my God, it's fun to dream.
Yes. What do you think you'd be worst at in the automotive sphere?
Um,
Mm,
Probably like a full-time mechanic. I can fix my own cars, but like I'm definitely not fast.
mm.
And I would get angry clients. They were like, "Hey, where's my car? I gave it to you a week ago." I'm like, "I'm still learning and I wrote a story about it. Sorry."
So no good in the pit crew. Like get
Oh God, no.
so this is my favorite ones is what is the hardest food to eat while driving? Mm.
Ice cream.
Ice cream, a good answer. That's a good answer. I it's messy. It's hard to do with one hand. So that's a good one. What is the
Can't
hardest?
really like you
Yeah.
can't really take the cone and like balance it while you're trying to shift too if you got a
Mhm.
manual.
Yeah.
So like if you push the cone up against the shifter, you'll just break it and then you'll
Yeah.
get ice cream all over it. So that's kind of
So this is where this is why it's one of my favorite segments because this is dumb shit I've done in the car, which is my daughter and I go get ice cream a fair bit, and I from Dairy Queen where you get the cone and it's got like the chocolate and they dip the whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So that in my manual, you got to get the cob knob because it's circle, so you can keep the ice cream vertical while you drive.
That's
That is.
honestly that's a pro move.
Mhm. It's I enjoy power shifting, going home, and then like someone will look over and they see me like pull up the ice cream. The and you can see my daughter in the back. So this is the other one is, and there is a correct answer to this one. What's the hardest makeup to apply while driving?
Oh God. I try not to because I can't see my eyes. So
Mhm.
like any kind of eye makeup is just impossible for me because I have to take my glasses off to do it.
Oh, that's an extra
So
step. Yeah.
so that's it. So like I have to be like, this with the mirror and then the road I can't see at all.
Mhm.
If I could do it, I would probably say like mascara,
Mhm.
just because I have poked myself in the eye with the brushes for it before, and that is not fun. Is there a different one you're thinking of? Because I'm
It's
curious now.
the pencil with the eyeliner is the hardest one, I think, personal.
That's
For
fair.
yeah,
That's that's fair.
there's also the extra added bonus of you hit the airbag and that thing's shooting through you. So all right. And then for our last little segment of this, of getting to know you as car personality wise, is I have two vehicles for you. They've been modified, and you have to pick one, and that is the daily driver for the rest of your life. You're not allowed to drive anything else. One of them,
Okay.
and you're not allowed to modify them beyond how I modify them in this question. And you're going to see this trick real fast. One of them is a 1995 Dodge Ram, but it's been set up for time attack and has a super plush VIP interior, and the other one is a Lancia Delta S4 with a Rocket Bunny wide body kit that has just been put on terribly. Mm. And you have to live with
Oh,
one of
that's
these.
actually
Mm.
sinful.
Yes, I know.
I honestly, I might take the Dodge Ram just because then I could still get to the grocery store. Because like
Hmm.
even if you said you can drive a Lancia Delta S4 forever,
Yeah.
I'd be like, forever isn't very long in a Lancia Delta S4 because I they I mean like maybe I would need to grocery shop like every 3 weeks because that would be as often as I could keep it running. Like the Dodge Ram will probably run, it'll outlive me for sure.
Right.
Could probably give it to like my great grandchildren. So I guess I'd take that.
Okay. I feel like we've learned a lot, and that who you are as a core, car person. So I want to get into one of, so I don't know how most people come across you, but the way I did is through the Twitter sphere, which is again, we talked about this briefly, this wonderful weird car space of weird car Twitter. And I'm trying, we talk about, who you are as a car person with the Inside the Actor Studio questions. And then I think that kind of gives a example of like how you kind of ended up being a cornerstone to this place. But I'm wondering, I know we talked about this briefly before you got on air, like you don't quite understand how it happened, but I'm just kind of like, what happened? Like, are you like when you were first made aware of this, of like you became such a like pivotal piece to this little like microculture we have like formed on Twitter? Like, I
I
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really quite get how I became part of it.
Mhm,
I don't remember exactly where the terminology came from, like the idea of it. At a
mhm,
certain point, like I'd say like probably a year ago now, I put it in my actual like Twitter bio
mhm.
because it was definitely a phrase at that point, and like I enjoy being part of it. Because there's also like there's the broader concept of car Twitter,
Right.
which is something that I've also been a part of, but it's much more like that's much more of like a typical scene, and so there's people in it who definitely are not as welcoming, or they're much more acidic, let's put it like
Yes.
that.
Hmm. Yeah.
There are other issues around that too, but like so I never felt like that was a quite the right fit. Whereas weird car, everybody I've met that is a self-described weird car Twitter member
Hmm.
is wildly nice and super accepting. And so like, as I mentioned before, I had the Accord. So right now
Right.
my I think this is kind of a crucial part of the story.
Yep.
My daily driver right now is a 1986 Honda Accord Aerodeck 2.0 SI, which as far as I'm aware is one of four in the US. It is they are, I don't know the exact production numbers on them, but they weren't common. It's not rare in terms of money. And I think that's kind of like the foundational cornerstone of the weird car Twitter ideology is
Yeah.
like they are cars that are strange. If you saw one, you'd be like, what? You know, like a Rover SD1 or a Citroen BX
Right.
or something that's just very uncommon to come across, but also like it is not necessarily worth like a ton of money. Like
Hmm.
a Koenigsegg doesn't count
Right.
as a weird car, just even though it's uncommon.
Right.
So the Accord probably helped me become a bit more influential in that
Mhm.
because it's very uncommon. Yeah, go
Right.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, well, I was gonna say, well, let's talk about. I know you've been selling some of the cars recently, but what is your current fleet you got sitting outside?
So my fleet right now is I have an 88 Honda Prelude SI 2.0 that was my
Hmm.
daily driver before I got the Accord. That
Hmm.
is mostly unmodified. I have a 96 Chevrolet Suburban 2500 454
Hmm.
with the Vortec. That is my like tow rig. That's actually being sold this week. I have a 1985 Honda CRX 1.5 in Seattle that I need to go pick up for a twin cam D series build that
Mm.
my friend and I are undertaking.
Okay.
And then after I sell the Prelude in the truck, I'm getting a 1995 Toyota Hiace Super Custom.
Yes, and that is. We'll definitely talk about that. That's gonna be used for a adventure you're doing, and then those. I'm very jealous because everyone seems to be getting K cars recently, and I need to get onto this trend apparently. Um, but I just it's so fascinating because they're like you said, they're oddball cars, but they're not particularly like sought after cars, and
Hmm.
it it it's so interesting to me because one of the things I like about the weird car Twitter thing is like everyone kind of, or the weird car Twitter space people, and like you said, it's a much more welcoming space than I think most places online, just
Hmm.
because it's such a diverse background and everyone has like, the phrase is a little weird to using it, but like no one is there to kink shame. Like it's like, oh, you're into
Yes,
these,
yes,
like, oh, that's awesome. Like that's not my thing, but I love that you love that thing. And
exactly.
like, how did you like get to like into weird? So, what was your first car? I guess would be a great place to start with this.
My first car was a 1988 the Toyota Supra that I used to have. It
Okay.
was a 88 Toyota Supra turbo Targa top
Hmm.
manual, and I bought it because it was cheap. I actually never wanted
Yeah.
a Supra.
Hmm.
It just didn't have rust. It was really cheap and it made good sounds. And so I was like, okay, I'm sold. And then I've owned a collection of cars that go from common to less so, but I've never spent a lot of money on cars.
Hmm.
And I think there's kind of this the thing that I like about weird cars, and I think kind of the reason it self selects such a nice audience
Hmm.
is that we are all kind of assembled from like the outcasts of other automotive cultures.
Right.
You know, like one of the cars I had an '03 Matrix XRS,
Ooh.
which is the 2ZZ
Hmm.
motor dropped into the hatchback body or whatever. And it's a
Yeah.
strange car.
Right.
But like it's kind of like I didn't love that car, honestly. I wrote an article, kind of
Yeah.
beating down on it, but also it was interesting and like I'm glad I got the chance to own it. And it's one of those things where like I can talk at length with a lot of, my friends that I've made on Twitter about like that driving experience and driving experiences they've had with cars that are just like kind of off the beaten path. There's definitely people who have FRSs or BRZs who are part of it,
Right.
but like they still just I think because it's kind of assembled from people who are on the fringes of normal car culture, we all are accepting of each other. And that's kind of like my favorite part of it.
Hmm.
Like obviously, like my identity means that I'm kind of not super normal in a lot of automotive spaces.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have that where it's like that's not an issue. We can just
Hmm.
talk about cars, and I like that part of it.
Yeah. And I as well, because there's nothing I hate more. There's a big like every week everyone goes up to the local ice cream place and they have themselves a car show, and it's the club is all about like it started as like a 1950s car club, and then it's just
Hmm.
anything historic. And there's some fantastic machines there, and like half the people are super nice, super welcoming, but
Hmm.
like they're driving around like kind of the oddball cars, and then the other half of people are like, well, I got a plum crazy purple like Barracuda from like 72, and like I just sit next to it and just mean mug people, and
Hmm.
like
No, I
yeah.
totally get that.
Mhm. And it's again, these are the same people who complain like our hobby is dying, and it's like, well, because you're mean to people, and I don't understand that. And that's like why I think I like Weird Car Twitter so much. And again, I keep using that phrase, but like you're a fantastic, writer. You do the
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you.
I, it, one of the things I love about this program that I get to do is I get to bring on people I like and I enjoy, and I get to read all their stuff. And I mean, it's the best part about it. And like, I'm always immensely jealous because like I am a untalented person and I get to talk to talented people. And so when it comes to like what came first, I'm curious. So did you get into were you always a writer who got into cars, or were you always a car person who got into writing? Like how did this kind of like format into like the pathway you've decided to take going forward?
It's funny actually. I've liked cars since I was two. I got a
Hmm.
pack of Matchbox for my second birthday. My parents have a
Hmm.
VHS recording of it, and I ignored all the rest of the gifts and played with them. And
Yeah.
I've literally never been the same since then. I
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, you can see my room. You can see the wall of Honda Accord stuff behind me, and I've
Hmm.
got Hot Wheels everywhere. Like lifelong obsession is kind of just the correct phrase here.
Hmm.
And so I started photography when I was about 11 or 12 years old
Hmm.
and got into that, and I have become pretty good at it. I mean, I've practiced
Yeah.
probably longer at that hobby than I have at anything else in my whole life. And I love it. And for a while, I my background, my official formal schooling, I went to college for a computer science degree. I was a programmer for half a decade.
Mhm.
I was very much a
Yeah.
hobbyist who really, really loved cars and photography and writing.
Mhm.
What the funny thing though is that I did exclusively photography and wrenching and all that stuff for quite a while, and then I'd say probably 4 years ago I started writing as as a way to supplement my photography because
Okay.
I was very big on speed hunters growing up,
Okay.
and
Yes.
so
Mhm.
they inspired me to be like, well, it's one thing to take good pictures; it's another thing to tell a story with them,
Mhm.
and try to assemble a narrative around it. So I've written for a bunch of different like really small sites, either personal projects or whatever, and I think the first 3 years I sucked. I think it's arguable to say that I'm still learning quite a lot,
Mhm.
but like it wasn't until we started Trusting the Machine, which is kind of my internet home,
Yeah.
that was when I kind of took off, and I think a lot of it came from a combination of I had a lot of practice and was kind of finally in the right place for where my pictures and my writing were sort of at the same level, at
Mhm.
least. A lot of it too came with I was finally out of the closet.
Mhm.
Like I think people who know me probably know that I'm trans, but that was when I came out and it allowed me to speak so much more freely as I found my voice
Right.
so
Mhm.
much more during that period, and that made it a lot more natural for me to write. And then I just kept doing that for a year or so. We started the podcast up as kind of a way to pass time during the pandemic, and that kind of took off actually more than we expected it to. And then I recently jumped from programming, which
Mhm.
paid the bills, but I wasn't really super passionate about, to writing, which I work until 2 a.m. and I have a big smile on my face when I wake up the next morning. Like I love it.
Right. That the journey of like self-discovery, for which is like, this is where we go like super deep, like the journey of self-discovery of finding out who you are as a person and what you need is like so fundamental. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, if I can kind of get a little like psychiatrist on everyone at the
Oh,
moment,
please
which
do.
is like, once you find a voice, once you find your voice and you're not speaking like elsewhere as like a person, I think it becomes much more authentic, like the writing style.
Hmm.
And like, there's like the stories you've written recently, which they're up here, but I'm having a hard time pulling them out. There's this wonderful like, I'm trying to like
Mirror
crucial.
finish. Was that
Yeah, maybe like you
was that
because
the series though? Because I wrote those two mirror finish stories for Trust in the Machine. That was the name of the articles, but it was about kind of this whole thing.
yeah, I think where you're talking about the I think it was about the Super 2. I'm trying to,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
So like, if, as we're all born, from dust to dust, and it's like, by speaking your truth, everyone else can kind of see their own truth inside of it. And I think that's kind of the thing I really enjoy about it. If
Thank you so much.
I'm trying to, again, this is early and my brain is not fully
No,
functioning
it's
yet.
okay.
Yeah. So and then the photography is phenomenal that goes along with it, and then the
Thank you.
podcast is great, and it's,
Thank you.
again, a great thing about the show is I get to bring people on. I like to I like to lead the stuff up, and not to blow too much smoke up your ass, but it's,
No, please. I enjoy
yeah,
it.
the
This is great.
yeah, but it's phenomenal, and that's the thing that I think makes your writing so good. And the photography is, there's such a, and again, like, truth might not be the most apt word for it, but it's the one that's coming to my mind. And I'm immensely jealous of that with a lot of people, just because if you've ever read any of my writing, it's like, what 2-year-old got drunk and wrote all this stuff out.
Oh, come
But
on.
look, and it's bad. The It turns out ADHD might be my biggest issue when it comes to writing thing, which is a wonderful excuse. But the so that's, and again, if you're listening to me and somehow you've made it to Weird Car Twitter and you haven't read any of Tony's work, you need to go fix that right now. And the mere finish, like you said, I think is a good one to start with.
Thank you.
Um, I feel like what we should. So just so I can get off this compliment train where my brain is running out right now, and go to my jealousy brain, which is, you bought this high ace, which is like a little van camper thing. So
Yes.
again, if you're listening and you don't know what this is, it's a little K van,
It's
and
not a cave-in, actually. It's not
it's
a
not.
cave-in. No, it's bigger.
Oh, okay. Like,
It is bigger. It's not constrained by the 660cc engine requirements, so it's
okay,
much more livable.
okay,
It's a full. It has a short wheelbase, but
mhm,
imagine it has a 3-liter turbo diesel.
yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
okay.
definitely got a lot more oomph to it, and it's much more livable inside. But yeah,
Hmm.
go ahead. I'm sorry, I just had to
Well, and
jump in
then
with that.
you're well now it's not K thing, so I don't care. But the
That's
uh
later this year, but that one I can't talk about yet.
yeah,
There is a K car related project in
mm,
the works.
yes, everyone very jealous of them all. The I need a beat is what I need, or
Yes,
uh,
you do.
yeah.
Everybody does.
I don't know if I fit though. I hardly fit in a Miata. So, like, yeah, this is the problem with being a taller person and trying to fit into shorter cars. Like, it's weird. Although I fit in my Fiesta fine. Fiesta fine, Miata no. Fiero even better somehow. But it doesn't make sense. Like, I'm just a weird shaped person. I think is what it comes down to. But the van you're going on, as I understand it, a bit of a cross country trip.
Yeah, yeah. So I've come to a very uh strange period of my life where, and I'll be writing about this soon, but like a lot of my obligations as I previously had them are no longer obligations of mine. We've spent a year indoors, and I'm very fortunate I've been able to get vaccinated,
Hmm.
and I'm very very thankful for that. But it also means that like I do not need to stay inside. I can go see my friends, and
Yeah.
because of the whole, because I've been so active as part of Twitter, as a writer, as like I've met all of these friends from all over the US.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people I like to go see. I've never been further west of Dallas
Well,
in my life,
mhm.
except for a 1-day trip to San Francisco I flew in. So
Yeah.
other than that, I've never seen a desert. I've never seen a snow-capped mountain.
Hmm.
I've never seen, like a any kind of forest aside from the ones I've seen in Ohio growing up.
Hmm.
So there's just this very broad swath of experiences I've never gotten to live through. And because now I don't have an office, I freelance, full
Hmm.
time at the moment.
Yeah.
So my hours are all weird and my editors are okay with that, thank God. But
Hmm.
like I submit stuff at 2 a.m. and they're like, hey, cool, we'll get it, that's
Yeah.
fine. I'll read it in the morning. Um, and I just I don't have any obligations really to other people. The biggest obligation I have is a cat who is going to be well cared for while I'm out of town.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm getting this Hiace. It's a 3-liter turbo diesel, all-wheel drive with 5
Yeah.
sunroofs and a fold-out bed. I am very excited for that.
Hmm.
But it's going to be my house kind of for a bit. I have a home base here in Houston that I'm going to
Hmm.
be kind of like, I'll keep my permanent PC there. That's where my cat is going to be, and my friend is going to take care of him for me.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm currently planning out the first leg, and it's from Houston to Seattle, and I'm stopping at friends' places along the way and showering at truck stops, and I mean,
Hmm.
just it's something that I've always wanted to do, and the circumstances that got me here were not quite ideal. They
That's
were kind of heart
2020. Yeah.
Yeah, they were kind of heart-wrenching to get me to the point
Yeah.
where like I have no ties to anywhere like this,
Hmm.
both family and relationship and all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
I'm trying to make the absolute best of it, and I know that I'm kind of fortunate to be able to do this, and so I feel like it's something I should do.
Yeah.
So that's the whole plan with it. I will be writing about it. I will be
Mhm.
shooting a million pictures just because I love to,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's one of the things I'm most excited about because I imagine there's going to be a lot of lonely highway pictures. Is what I imagine.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. And just like imagine that you just take a person who had been a photographer for 12 years and showed them a desert for the first time. That's kind of what it's going to be.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah. No, it's gonna be. I cannot wait. I really can't. The why can't you take your kitty with you? This is a brief aside. So we recently bought a camper,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah,
Okay.
but it's like this was one of those things where the wife woke up on New Year's and went, we need a tow behind camper," and I went, "You mean an RV?" And then by the end of the day, we have an RV.
Oh,
So
okay.
because that's how it works is you gotta strike while the iron's hot. But one of the reasons we got it is because we want to be able to take the kitty cats with us on our road trips.
Yes.
So
Yes. The van is
It's a
the main thing
small.
is just that, yeah, it's a small van,
Right.
and the logistics. He's very nosy. He likes to run around and stuff.
Um,
My biggest fear is just like I will not be able to, like, a lot of this is new for me. I've never taken a road trip. I've never
mm,
at least not like this. I've
right.
taken road trips, but never like this
Mm,
kind of thing. Um, you know, I'm kind of there are certain areas where I'll need to intentionally sequester myself from society just because I think it'll be a little bit safer because of
right.
who I am and whatnot, and just
Hmm.
rolling through very rural areas where there's nobody around. I mean, like,
Hmm.
it's one lady driving around in a van. Like, that's
Right.
kind of you kind of want to just keep to yourself for that kind of thing, I think.
Hmm.
Um, so just I don't want to be adding the anxiety of taking care of my cat at the
Yeah.
same time. He actually doesn't mind cars. I've taken him
Hmm.
for a ride in my old Supra before,
Hmm.
and he kind of liked it. Um, it was kind of funny. He's definitely a gearhead. I gave him 1/18th scale cars to play with as a kitten, and I think maybe that shaped him. I don't know. I've tried to be a good mom and
Yeah.
have
Hmm.
him grow up with the same passions that I do.
Yeah.
Uh,
That way, that way, when he gets old, we can go on car rides together, and he can drive me around.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, but yeah, no, it's just that. Plus, I'm gonna be on the road for probably a month
Yeah.
overall, so,
Mm.
and I'll be stopping at friends' houses, and some of them
That's a
have
good point.
pets, and
Yeah.
so all that stuff.
Yes, that makes it more difficult as well. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I just more kitties, more better. I was just looking
Oh, I
forward.
agree.
Yes.
I agree.
The wife right now, if she heard me, she'd be like, "Oh, yeah, that's so this no one ever showed this to my wife." The we have like 8 cats. That would be what would
Oh,
happen if she.
wow.
No, I'm saying we have two. If she heard that, we'd have 8. It's
Oh,
like that.
okay. Okay.
The so there's another thing we have to talk about that I need to get into
Yeah.
that I need you to parade around with you as well, which is recently bought a piece of Soviet aerospace technology, I guess would be the best way to put it. So you bought this
Yeah.
rocket ship, and I am immensely
Yes.
jealous of it. Like, how did this happen? I just need to know all of it.
Okay, the basic background of it is, so I am the very proud owner of a 9 foot tall, 3 inch um Soviet Energia Buran model. The Energia Buran was the pinnacle of the Soviet space program ever created.
Hmm.
I mean, not in terms of functionality, but in terms of intent.
Yeah.
So there it is. If you don't mind me going into the
No,
background on the rocket
please.
a little bit,
Yes.
okay.
Hmm.
So the Energia is the launch system. It is a super powerful. Basically, it's like the orange and white secondary boosters for the shuttle.
Hmm.
Like the white boosters, the main fuel tank. It's the same kind of thing, except it is all its own rocket. So you can put any launch vehicle you want on it.
Yeah.
The Buran was the space shuttle competitor. Essentially, the Soviets
Hmm.
developed right on the back of it.
Hmm.
Um, it only ever flew in real life once.
Hmm.
And then the Soviet Union basically ran out of money, partly because of the Buran project, which was absurdly expensive. And there was this weird company in the U.S. that was, as the Cold War rivalry faded,
Yeah.
especially at the end of the Reagan years, going into the Bush years,
Hmm.
um, where the shuttle program, the U.S. shuttle program, had been paused because of Challenger,
Right.
and that was currently your only way to get to space, basically, if you had a
Hmm.
big payload. So this company in Houston tried to be essentially a Russian rocket ship broker, and they never got to actually do that because the U.S. government was like, no, it's still the Cold War. You can't just go put American satellites into a Russian rocket. But they
Yes.
tried to make this work, and so as a result, this company built this giant model
Hmm.
of the Energia Buran, saying we can put your satellite on this. They never did,
Hmm.
but that is how it came to be.
Yeah.
Fast forward through 30 something years of existence, it's been at museums. It ended up in this space aficionados garage for a decade plus, I think probably somewhere around 20 years. And it was
Hmm.
sitting there. He put it on eBay. Somebody was like, does anybody want a 9 foot tall Soviet rocket ship for the living room? And one of my friends showed me it, and I was like, I would like a 9 foot tall Soviet rocket ship for my living room.
Right. Yeah.
And it just so happened to be pickup only and located in Houston. So I went to go check it out. I realized I could actually feasibly get it in my house,
Yeah.
and I bought it.
And again, another thing I'm immensely jealous of. It is phenomenal. I absolutely love this thing. And then you got pictures of your cat with it as well, which I just adore.
Yes,
So,
yes.
uh,
I was very excited for that part specifically. Like cat photos with 9 foot tall rocket ships is just an untapped genre.
yes, no, it definitely is. Do you have this is going to be the untitled cat show for a moment here. The do you have a little astronaut outfit yet for him?
I do not, but I need to get
Mm,
one. I really,
mm,
I don't, I've never tried doing like the Halloween cat thing, and like
mm,
he kind of, he's very affectionate and kind of lets me do whatever. I mean,
mhm.
I've had him since he was like a
Yeah,
baby kitten,
yeah,
like a month old or something, really tiny.
yeah.
A friend of ours found him in a parking lot and was like, "I have this cat," and I was like, "Word." So then
Yeah.
now I have a cat. His name is Bert, just for the record.
Okay, Bert.
He's so named for. It's funny. I kind of like jokingly called him that because of Burt Reynolds, because he was very rambunctious and liked cars. Like that was the running joke as
Okay,
a
yeah.
kitten, is that he was like he was
Hmm.
super into like My Toy Cars, and
Hmm.
so I was like, oh, he's like he's reminds me of Burt Reynolds' character in Smokey and the Bandit. Like
Hmm.
he's running around causing mayhem all the time, and he loves cars. So his name is Bert. He's very cute. I would die for him, but I would like to see if I can at least get like maybe a little 3D print of like a
Hmm.
little cosmonaut helmet or something, and just see if he'd be willing to like play
Wear it.
with it or
Yeah,
wear it or something, just for a cute picture. But yeah.
that would be adorable. Yeah, the I have access to a 3D printer right here, so I'm gonna go look up cat cosmonaut costume right now. I'll try it on my kitties first, see how it works. The it's a man, cats are the best. Cats and cars. It's again weird intersection you would never think about, but it's. I mean, it's only one letter off. There, car Twitter has a lot of cat people in it, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
Again, I think it's just kind of that thing where it's like one of the things I like about Weird Car Twitter in general, and like the way that people kind of convey themselves on it, is I find a lot of traditional culture comes with a very thick veneer of masculinity,
oh
which,
yeah.
as I mentioned with my Dodge Ram thing
Hmm.
earlier,
Yeah.
is not really something I fit into.
Yeah.
But the Weird Car Twitter, because it is, I have this weird thing. Check it out.
Hmm.
It's basically I found this cool thing I want to show you because it's cool. It's
Hmm.
just sharing this very wholesome enjoyment of the same hobby. There's no masculinity, there's no posturing that comes with it.
Hmm.
Obviously, we have people who are, very comfortable in their masculinity and stuff, but it's a different concept than trying to flaunt it, I guess.
Hmm.
And so you can
Yeah.
you can be like, yeah, I have this is my cat, this is my son,
Yeah.
I love him and he's soft, or I think one of the other things I'm known for is I wear a lot of weird dresses and stuff.
Hmm.
I enjoy it deeply.
Yeah. Well, I've it's like 1920s kinds of dresses for the most part, is my understanding. That's
It's
what
a
I see the
little
most
like
of.
1880s, I
That's
think,
what
is
I'm
a little
looking
bit
for. Yeah.
late Victorian, but yeah, I
Hmm.
also wear like modern Lolita stuff from Japan, which is like a whole subgenre of like really frilly, like high waistline, big petticoat style dresses and whatnot. But like it's just one of those things where it's like in a non super masculine space, you can just kind of share what you love. It's
Right.
not about, just flaunting something. It is about being passionate. And
Yeah.
if you have a pet, like you've got two cats,
Hmm.
you love them to death. I
Yeah.
love Bert.
Hmm.
It's one of those things where it's like it just kind of comes up. So
This is
yeah,
true.
it's
Yeah. There's no cap on like the on the well of enthusiasm. I think it's the best part. Which
yeah.
which is another question I need to ask you. Uh, which is what so favorite subject to take pictures of and favorite subject to write about, because I need to know, like, or is that too difficult a question?
I really like, I mean, cars in general, I guess, is my favorite to shoot pictures of.
Okay.
I'm excited
Enough.
to do some landscape photography
Hmm.
as I go on this trip, but
Right.
like I've been doing cars for the longest time, and they are truly fun because it's so constrained a subject
Yeah.
because you have to portray the vehicle. It's
Mm-hmm.
still your main goal, but you can be so creative with how you package it, and there are so many rules you can break, that I
Okay.
really enjoy that. Just doing automotive photography.
Yeah.
And then writing, there are two main inspirations I have, I think, as a writer, that I am subconsciously influenced by much more than I ever really realized until I was kind of digging through my
Right.
inspirations recently.
Mm-hmm.
And John Boyce is one of them, if you're familiar with him. He is the director of Secret Base, and he
Okay. Yes.
does
Yes.
he
Yes.
does the he did like the big deep dive on the Mariners and
Yes.
Fighting in the Age of Loneliness. Just
Mm-hmm. The
I'm not
Bob
a baseball
emergency.
fan.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a
Yes.
baseball fan. I'm not really a sports fan in general, all that much
Mm-hmm.
outside of auto racing.
Mm-hmm.
But he could take any subject, he finds a human angle that makes it so compelling,
Yeah.
and I am riveted. And that's kind of what, like, cars are my chosen
Mm-hmm.
platform to talk about because I'm familiar with them and because I have had the good fortune to meet people in the industry. But like my main goal is to find somebody who does not care about cars
Mm-hmm.
and write about cars in such a compelling way from a human and historical perspective that they are intrigued. And
Yeah.
I think John's work is like my north star of that aspect. And then it's as cliche as it is. I really like Hunter S. Thompson.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the whole idea of the whole foundational works of Gonzo journalism is kind of something that I have, like, obviously I don't if I would be dead in a day if I tried to do half as many drugs as
Oh.
he did.
Well. Yeah.
um
We all would.
but
Yeah.
just living his life in
Yeah.
general would completely murder me immediately. But the way that he makes himself, the way that he made himself such an integral part of his stories, that feeling like he was ever preaching or missing the actual story, just the way that he's woven in as an integral part of what he's experiencing.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he everybody loves him for that, but I truly love him for that. I guess the other one you could throw into, this is a longer form writer, but I've always been a huge fan of Vonnegut.
Okay.
um, and he also did a similar kind of thing where he would weave himself either as a self-insert or
Yeah.
actually himself into his stories, just in a way that made the narrative so much clearer and made his point so much more strong. So I guess what I'm saying is I enjoy automotive writing. Like,
Yeah.
I love reviewing cars.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy doing technical reviews. Right now, I'm working under Jonathan Klein at The Drive,
Mm-hmm.
for one of my bigger things, which is Gears and Guides. We're doing like history and how to how to do certain common repairs or modifications, and I enjoy that. It's fun.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing is just I seek to do that kind of writing. Like, if I could ever get to anywhere close to their level, that's my goal. And cars are my chosen sort of
Right.
canvas to
Mm-hmm.
to do that kind of writing with. But I really just want to tell personal stories that actually make people relate and feel better after they're done reading them.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
cars are just happen to be my chosen language for that because I'm familiar with them and I love them.
Yeah.
So
That's
so sorry for the long-winded
no, the
explanation.
podcast. That's the whole point. No, no, that's 100% yes. And as you're saying that, I get that from what I've read of your writings. And then, but what is fascinating. So you talk about modifying the cars in the current articles you're doing, and so if you had to pick between working on cars or driving cars, I'm imagining, just from what I know of you, you probably prefer to drive them more than you prefer to work on them.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, I modify them because I'm cheap. I really like having a cool
Same.
car.
Yeah.
I really like having old cars, and I'm very cheap, and I cannot afford usually to have like an actual expert work on them. So I taught myself everything
Hmm.
that I know, through like YouTube and stuff. And
Hmm.
um, but I do that so I can drive them
Gotcha.
for sure.
Now here's a more difficult question. If you had to pick between driving them and taking pictures of them.
That's a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Can I drive them with a camera on the passenger seat? Because that's usually what I do.
Okay.
I got my camera bag like literally ready to go. If I see anything mildly interesting when I'm like
Hmm.
out on a shoot, I
Yeah.
will literally just whip it across 5 lanes and go park in, I'll park anywhere if I
Yeah.
think the shot will be good. Like,
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. It's too integral to the hobby to try and divert the two from each other. I get that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense based on everything I know about you. So the it's wonderfully fascinating, and I just uh my brain is like flooded right now with ideas, and I'm just it's literally, you
Go
ever
for
have no the Three Stooges thing where they all try and get through the door at once and then none of them manage to
'em.
break through. That's
Yeah,
what's
like
going.
Homer Simpson's ailments.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, no, it was Mr. Burns. Thank you very much.
Oh, Mr. Burns, my
Yeah,
apologies.
yeah. Oh, come on, you
That
have no
episode
sense of.
that episode aired before I was born, so.
I'm leaving. No, oh, you're making me feel old. Uh, that's the other thing too, though. It's like the great thing about, again, the space is there's 20-year-olds, there's like 70-year-olds in this space, and it's all wonderful together. And as you road trip, and I know you've talked about you haven't seen, a desert or the, snow-tipped mountains or anything like that. Is there something out there that like you have your like, maybe not to this silly of an extent, but like the world's largest ball of yarn or something out there where you're like, I need to see this, while I'm out here doing that.
A lot of them are like natural.
Hmm.
Like I want to see a lot of natural parks and like natural formations. So
Yeah.
national parks, I got a pass for that. There's a but like the Hoover Dam,
Hmm.
Vegas, because I want to do an homage to Thompson, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, just there's a bunch of stuff. There are two actual things that are really goofy that I want to go see.
Yeah.
There is a knockoff of Cadillac Ranch called Slug Bug Ranch.
Oh,
So
yes.
Cadillac Ranch is the nose buried
Hmm.
Cadillacs that you can graffiti on. There's somebody did that with Volkswagen Beetles outside of an abandoned motel is somewhere outside of Amarillo.
Hmm.
I am going to that because they let you paint on stuff. I'm taking Transflag color paints, and I'm gonna do a bunch of cool graffiti, get some
Yeah.
cool pictures, shoot this abandoned motel. That's like way off the beaten path. This is
Hmm.
like I'm actually going out of my way to go see this. So that's number one.
Hmm.
Number two is in Seattle there is a Lowe's home improvement store that is built on the site of the old Mariners Stadium.
Okay.
Six Stadium, and they have a little metal plaque of a
Right.
baseball batter.
Yeah.
I am going to go make as part of my homage to John Boyce's work because he
Hmm.
did a series in the Mariners and that
Yeah.
was part of it. I am going to go see that and take a photo with it and send it to him and be like, "Thanks. This
Yeah.
is that's actually going to cap the first leg of the trip." So those are my two goofy things I have planned so far.
That's it's the secret base thing. I wish I would have known, because that is something like all of that stuff. I Again, not sports person. Like,
Hmm.
I will root for my terrible NFL team, the Chicago Bears, but like that's just out of like pain and misery. It's much like being a Mariners fan. Like, again, if your writing has that same conveyance of, this is the medium in which we tell personal stories through a, system we understand. Like, we all
Hmm.
know our brains are all wired differently. You all understand like a weird set of rules, and like ours as car people tends to be car stuff, whether it's
Hmm.
racing, whatever. What, and that's, again, to your writing and to your credit, it's all, this is a personal story filtered through this, and it all comes out as a, again, truth is not the word I'm trying to use. I'm going to remember what I'm trying to use, but it's the one that's coming to mind, and it's like there's an understanding of self that comes through it at the other side of it, which I find phenomenal, even in like the
Thank you.
silliest little stories. And
Thank you.
uh, if you it's if you had to, my brain, come on, I need to stop doing these early morning things. That's what's coming down to this. It's, if we had to pick a medium in which to dis obviously I enjoy the writing, I think, the most. I think a lot of people follow you for the photography work you do. And then there's people out there who I'm sure know you either from like the podcasting stuff or just through the Twitter stuff. And I don't want to like, oh, if you have to pick one, because that's such a silly question, but like, you know, it's such a multifaceted person. If there was, a way, what would you describe yourself? Again, we're going like full, like, psychologist thing, as a, a photographer first. Are you a writer first? Are you a, personality first, an influencer, which I love that phrase.
Oh God, please no.
Yeah.
I think the way that I'm trying. So a year ago, I would have said I'm a photographer above all else,
Mhm.
because I still love doing it, and
Mhm.
I definitely have the most experience there. But now I think, given the fact that am fortunate enough to be at several different outlets, and I have had, this is really only the end of my first month and a half of being a
Mhm.
full-time writer. I mean, it was
Yeah.
part-time before this,
Mhm.
and it's gone really well, and I'm very, very excited and very
Yeah.
flattered and honored that I work alongside such people that I've been reading for years and years.
Yeah.
As a result, of that, I love it. I want to be a writer first. I
Mhm.
think. I think that's kind of my main thing. I don't want to be an influencer. Maybe the only way that I have tried to be an influencer, and this is a conscious decision I made, and this is part of the reason it kind of comes up a bunch on my Twitter and in my writing,
Mhm.
but because I have a mostly automotive focused audience of good
Mhm.
people,
Yeah.
who maybe just haven't really met a ton of trans people before.
Mhm.
I'm trying to kind of make people aware of issues that it will affect my community,
Yeah.
that they might not be otherwise aware of.
Mhm.
And so I guess the influence I'm trying to wield is basically just, it's 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 not political because I think it's an existence thing, but our
Right.
existence is political. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
would say, from that perspective, I'm trying to help with awareness. I'm trying to help my community in any way that I can,
Mhm.
in whatever little ways I can contribute, whether that's trying to help out other trans people with my stories, or if that's trying to raise awareness to, like the whole thing with Arkansas recently, that is an absolute travesty.
Yeah.
But like that, I'm not trying to be a spokesperson. I'm not trying to be like a somebody who says, "Oh, this is the universal experience." I'm
Right.
just trying to be a voice that can help other people either find their voice, or
Mhm.
sort of just help us progress forward. I think that's my only influencer aspect, I think.
I got you. No, that makes sense because, like you said, existence is political, and I feel like maybe we should get you onto the Team Clearco podcast because they're a lot better at talking about the intersection of politics and uh, car culture in general and like kind of like
Hmm.
the human experience. But you know no matter what you do in life, you could be the most quote unquote normal person there is out there. There's going to be an intersection where politics and your personal life overlap in a unfortunate way, and just
Hmm.
trying to understand that, like, you know my like big policy in life is, obviously, spread love, spread understanding, because those are the two things that help out everyone no matter what. And
Hmm.
just trying to understand, like, other people is such a wonder. And again, this is my own thing. I find people fast. Cars are my I'm getting passionate, so the hands are coming up. Cars are fascinating because cars are very much a expression of people as a culture. Like,
Hmm.
the reason the AutoZam exists is a lot different than the reason the Corvette exists, which is a lot different than the reason a Yugo exists, or like whatever's going on. And so you can understand a lot about a culture through a car, and then you can understand a lot about
Hmm.
a person through the way in which they buy the vehicles they do. And if we could all understand each other a little better, which is what I try to hope and spread here, I think that helps us all kind of understand, we're all stuck on this stupid rock together. Let's just all get along, kind of thing.
Yep.
Like, and
Yep.
stop trying to make people do things that you want them to do that doesn't make sense. Like that,
Yeah.
let people be people. So,
Completely agree.
I,
Yeah. I mean,
uh,
my ideology in most places can just be described as like autonomy of the self.
correct.
Just
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So.
And it's a, you know, like you said, the automotive space has a lot of toxic elements to it, and I don't want to go in and try and, like, dredge up like bad things, but like, if someone, we're an hour into this, so if you've stuck along for this long, I'm sure you found this all fascinating, and I hate to put it at the tail end of everything, but like, if you are someone in the trans community and you're trying to get out and get into car culture, not to make you an influencer out of you, but do you have any recommendations as to, here's like recently, I forget who put online, but there was a someone asked, I think it was Mr. I'm gonna mispronounce his name, but it's Mr. Miguel, and he's like kind
Yes.
of, yeah, he was like, does anyone know of like any automotive, like, queer safe spaces? And I was like, have you ever seen Queers for Cars, which is a great resource out
Hmm.
there for that. And they talk about, queer friendly car shows and stuff. They're based out of DC, which is how I know of them. And he's like, I've never seen this, never heard of this. And I don't, again, I'm just trying to understand and help
Yeah.
everyone get into this. Is there anything, any recommendations you have for that?
There is I think it's Lambda Car Community, and they're a very, very old
Okay.
LGBT focused car club. They have regional meets, although not any near me. I don't think they're quite as active as they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But they are definitely one that's like they are focused on being a queer oriented automotive space in the physical world sometimes. They also have
Yeah.
like online membership and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I've had very good luck on Weird Car Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main thing too is just like I've had, I've definitely gotten my share of like nasty comments or whatever, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't affect me because luckily my vanity is just completely bulletproof.
Yeah.
So people can say whatever they'd like. But the main thing is just like I have had pretty good luck in person, honestly.
Okay.
And I definitely think that like there is a learning curve to it. So for example, for me, the first time that I was ever out as myself at
Mm-hmm.
an event was Radwood. It was the last
Okay.
Radwood before lockdown. So it
Yep.
was February 2020, right? Yeah, that
Yeah.
was 2020.
Yeah.
Uh, in Austin. And Radwood is an awesome example of kind of the whole
Yeah.
welcoming mentality that the Weird Car Twitter has, and that I try to
Yeah.
seek people out as part of. Is
Mm-hmm.
just it was. I felt great there. It was
Mm-hmm.
is as a confidence builder to be part of the community
Mm-hmm.
physically. I felt completely fine. It was just it's Toni. She
Yeah.
brought two cars. What the hell?
Yeah.
Let's go check them out. And that was all I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's intimidating, and it's definitely an ear, kind of play it by ear situation
Yeah.
as far as going to meets and stuff. But go with some friends. There's a couple of friends of mine that I'm going to see on this trip, and I'm really hoping that I can take them to car meets for the first time
Mm-hmm.
as themselves, because like it's very intimidating to go alone, and I
Yeah.
totally get not wanting to do it. But you go with a couple of friends,
Mm-hmm.
odds are nobody will mess with you, and if they do, you got your friends there, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll back off.
Yeah.
So there's also just shout out to a couple other places. Gears and Queers
Mm-hmm.
is really good. Out Motorsports is really good.
Okay.
They have an all queer writing staff, and I haven't kept up with them recently, but they have a bunch of really cool
Right.
people there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's I think my main takeaway is just like
Mm-hmm.
we encounter challenges in so many different areas of our personal lives that
Right.
like I was expecting there to be more resistance in the automotive scene, and just like you go with a couple people and nobody really says anything. They
Right.
just in my luck, with the luck I've had, and I've gone to like the meets that you describe with
Yeah.
like the 50s cars and stuff. You'll get stared at, but
Right.
it's all just very context dependent. But I'm hoping that maybe I can make us part of the automotive scene a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to normalize it. I would like to
Right.
make it so that we are, the whole masculinity thing isn't so deeply entrenched, and then it's just for anybody,
Right.
any femme, any queer person, anybody at all,
Right.
So
100%, because it's the more the better
yes.
is the thing. Like, just everyone come on in, like, just
Hmm.
so I think that's a fairly good place to kind of wrap up on it. I do need to know though, did you dress up for Radwood?
Oh yes, yes.
Mhm.
I wore a bright yellow Honda crop top and a neon pink skirt with yellow leggings.
Perfect. No, were they leggings or were they leg warmers?
No, they were leggings.
Oh, okay.
I could only find leggings on short notice, and but they were color matched with the crop top and the leggings were color matched to my Prelude.
Perfect.
So
Yeah. Uh, that and that I think is a perfect summation of who you are. So
it really is.
it, before we end for the evening, do you have any other little parting words? Anything else you would like to plug that we haven't gotten to?
No, I just thank you so much for having me on. This was really, really fun. I really appreciate you, giving me the
Mhm.
chance to speak about all the stuff I'm passionate about, and this is a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Mhm. That's my honor. Hold on. I'll say goodbye to you off air. For everyone listening, good night, good evening, wherever you are, what time it is there. I screwed up my own ending phrase. Uh, thanks so much for listening. And, goodbye. And then I hit that. Oh, no. And